blockages? Or how fast did doors open for the intention to manifest? All of these are things that we're going to get into in these digital sacred circles. And I'm just so excited for them. The digital side is only $74, which is such a value. $74 for 4 sacred gatherings, plus the opportunity to connect with every woman in the group on a much more personal level through a Slack account where information can be interchanged. And then also we're giving everyone downloadable information with a structure of how we are executing our red tent on July 13th so that maybe girlfriends can gather in the privacy of your home or go to a beach and execute some of these exercises that we're going to be doing. Friday the 13th is the day of the goddess. So this is a very powerful day. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that next week. This week, we are going to talk about the Yoni steam. I'm so curious to know how many of you out there have ever experienced a Yoni steam. If you haven't, I experienced it for us for the first time, and I'm going to share my experience. Not only am I going to share my experience, but I did have the Yoni steam facilitated by a woman named Marcia Lopez, who is a shaman. She's a healer, and she actually has a center here in Redondo Beach where she facilitates healing for women, and one of her specialties is facilitating a Yoni steam. So I am excited to share what she had to say, the information that she had to give us on the Yoni steam, and also to share my personal experience. We're going to take a really short break, and when we get back, we are going to get into the magic of a Yoni steam.
Return to the one. Return to the one.
The Yoni series was inspired by one of our listeners, Maite. What's up, Maite? We love you. She wanted to know more about the Yoni steam, and there had been some videos that were going viral and women were talking about the Yoni steam. So I was curious too. I had the same questions she had. What is this? What does it mean? What does it do? That is how the Yoni series started, but we actually got to some root issues first before we moved into ways to heal the Yoni. So I originally was going to facilitate the Yoni at home for myself based on YouTube videos that I watched. And then I watched a YouTube video where this woman said, if you've never done this, if you don't know what you're doing, you need to be very careful. So with that, I decided that I would find someone that facilitates Yoni steams. And I went on Yelp. I visited the Yelp gods, and they pushed me in the right direction. They pushed me over to a woman named Marcia Lopez, who has a healing facility named Women's True Healing in Redondo Beach. I gravitated towards her, reached out to her, and asked her if she would like to facilitate this Yoni steam and talk to us a little bit about what a Yoni steam even is. I wanted to hear it from a professional instead of trying to do the research myself and relay the information. I was really excited to get this done. I woke up the morning of, and I took a shower, and I shaved all down there. Actually, let's just talk about this. Let's get into this. I shave once a month after I have my moon cycle because I like to renew the energy. I know this sounds crazy the way my brain works sometimes, but I like to renew the energy and get rid of old energy. And for me, that includes hair. I know that hair can absorb so much energy. Sometimes it's not great energy depending on what has been taken place. That's why we always get this urge to cut our hair when we get out of a relationship or there's a huge change. We want to let go of some of that energy. So instinctively, we cut our hair. After every moon cycle, I shave. I do maintenance around, but I don't do a clean shave. And after my bleed, I do a complete clean shave. And I love doing that. It's like a little ritual of mine. I just felt that for this occasion, I needed to do another clean shave because I wanted renewed energy. I don't know, but that's what I decided to do the morning of. So I start to feel very empowered as I'm driving over to her healing center. I'm grounded in gratitude, and I'm just so excited to meet this woman. A lot of the times when I'm about to meet someone else that I haven't met in person, I like to project pink and gold light towards them. This is something that Marcela Arieta, my mentor, you guys know I talk about Marcela a lot. She's going to be one of the healers at the Red Tent. She's taught me to do this, and I try to practice this as much as possible. And then what I've been doing for years before Marcela taught me to send pink and gold light, which I imagine is kind of the same thing, is I send my angels and my guides to go and meet with the person's angels and guides that I'm about to meet. And I have them make a contract before I even arrive, so that whatever we are supposed to do, whatever purpose we're supposed to do together, may that purpose be executed and may that purpose be protected. And magic always unfolds when I do that. I do it before going into an interview, just any time that I'm going to meet somebody and I want to co-create with that person, whether it's getting a job or whether it's doing a project. I invite you to incorporate the pink and gold light. Pink and gold light is good to send all the time. After you have established a relationship with someone and you want a certain outcome of something, just protect it with pink and gold light so that a positive outcome can be of result. So as I was doing that on my way to go see Marcia, I enter her center and immediately I feel calm, I feel safe, I feel at peace. Not only do I feel calm, safe, and at peace, but I feel like I've met Marcia before. I feel her familiarity to me. I sit down, I fill out some forms, which gives a little history of myself to her so that she can get familiar with my body. And she says, "Can I burn some sage?" And I'm like, "Yes, of course." She burns the sage. The energy really starts to shift and ground itself. And we sit down. And here's how our conversation starts.
I'm a little nervous.
Are you? Yay! That's good. Oh, vaginal steaming is, honestly, it's amazing. So this is your first time?
First time.
So there's a lot of information to give you as far as
Sure.
like what vaginal steaming can do and the entire overview. I'll try to condense it.
Okay.
So historically, anthropologically, vaginal steaming is done all over the world. You know, my theory is that it is essentially a postpartum practice, healing practice. So vaginal steaming, what we're finding in historical text and anthropological studies around the world is that vaginal steaming is performed after a woman gives birth, and the steam helps to soothe the pelvic floor, it helps to soothe the vaginal tissues, bring the uterus back to its normal size, release the lochia, and help with the recovery in the postpartum period. So traditionally around the world, most people have a 40-day to 6-week postpartum care period. Have you heard of that?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So
Los 40.
La cuarentena,
Yeah.
the golden moon, the fourth moon, the fourth trimester, all kinds of names. Those are some more modern names, but the sacred window in Ayurveda. So everywhere they have some kind of practice, and the vaginal steam is incorporated in some of these traditions, including abdominal massage, uterine massage, hip binding, and sometimes internal pelvic floor work, and specific foods that are nourishing and hot and help with the recuperating the blood loss for the mother and also helping with breastfeeding.
Wow. Makes me realize how much we don't care for ourselves after we give birth.
Well, yes, how much we're not cared for.
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
because
right.
you essentially cannot care for yourself right after a postpartum, right after a delivery. You just had a baby, you know, and I think that the magnitude of having babies is not revered. It's not protected. It is not honored because a woman has just had a baby. She needs to be cared for. She should not be expected to care for herself. Right? You know, so no fault of our own that we did not, or that women did not care for themselves when they had babies. Including our mothers, including our grandmothers. These postpartum care traditions have been lost in the face of industrialization, in the face of centering ourselves around industry and labor and work, as opposed to centering ourselves around family. Right? Around the family unit. The postpartum period is one of the most important things. So vaginal steam is part of that recovery. So vaginal steaming having been lost and having been resurrected in our mainstream awareness, and it's still not mainstream. So vaginal steaming was essentially resurrected by, we would say, the Korean spas here in Los Angeles, Cocoon, Hue Spa being one of them, Dengue Spa, and also the Arvigo Institute where I got trained to do the mind abdominal therapy, and where I first learned about the bajos. They call them bajos. In Korean traditional medicine, they call them chayoks. There was more of a movement, and then I think Gwyneth Paltrow in Goop went to Cocoon Spa to get her vaginal steam, and then it started to blow up. And then a lot of OBGYNs, you know, were putting their 2 cents in about, you know, how it's unsafe. And Of course. So vaginal steaming in physiological terms affects a lot of things. We can use the example of steaming our face or steaming our sinuses when there's congestion. Steaming of the nasal passages can help soften, thicken mucus. It can help clear the nasal passages. Steaming of the face can help clear the pores, relax the facial muscles, right? Steam, warm, moist heat, this is in sports medicine, is known to release and relax the muscles more effectively than dry heat, okay? So using that as our basis to explain vaginal steaming can help cleanse the vaginal tissues by sweating them, by heating them up, opening up the blood vessels to the vaginal tissues, clearing them out, the vulva tissues. It can also warm up the uterine lining. It can help soften any leftover mucus or dried uterine lining that did not come out in the last menstrual cycle. It can help warm up the ovaries, increase blood flow to the ovaries, helping to normalize or boost hormone production because of the warmth and the increase in circulation, increase in lymphatic fluid circulation, and increase in nerve relay, the nerve information, the nerve communication with the organs, because things have dilated because of the heat. Okay? So proper circulation is always going to be paramount in hormone function. So vaginal steaming can do that because of the nature of what steam, warm, moist heat can do with tissues, which is soften them, relax them a lot quicker than dry heat. Okay, so that's number one. Then what it can do is it can address the psoas muscle. The psoas muscle is one of the internal abdominal muscles that attaches the femur to the torso. It's the one muscle that attaches the torso to the lower part of the body. All the other muscles attach basically the pelvis to the legs, but not necessarily the torso to the legs. The psoas muscle is the essential muscle in the fight or flight response. It engages immediately when there is a stress trigger or a survival response. And that can be anything, a deadline, being stuck in traffic, running late, having, prolonged anxiety, not having fully released trauma, suffering from post-traumatic stress disorders can engage the psoas muscle. The steaming can help relax the psoas muscle, can help the central nervous system disengage from the fight or flight response.
That's so crazy. I'm already getting emotional. I don't know why.
Because it's so far out. It's awesome. Most women, most people, we're stuck in a trauma response. The world is traumatizing.
It is, especially right now.
Especially right now. We don't have the family structure to help us release trauma because we've lost a lot of practices to heal ourselves. We've lost a lot of practices to take care of ourselves after we women have given birth. We've lost a lot of practices to take care of family. So what we're doing, what I have chosen to do, is look at these ancient practices and apply them in a modern setting. Because what is happening to us, trauma, is something that's happened for a long time. But right now we're dealing with modern issues. And these ancient practices, it's like they've been with us all along and they're resurfacing. It's like this river of knowledge. So it's up to us who are healers. It's up to me, if I'm electing to be a woman that is healing, helping other people heal female reproductive issues, to take these ancient practices and be able to apply them effectively in our modern times. Vaginal steaming can do that because it can help address central nervous system issues in a real way that's irrefutable.
I wanted to jump in here real quick because my emotions when she talked about the psoas muscle really took me by surprise. I just want to reiterate what she said that really triggered me. She said the psoas muscle, it is an essential muscle in the fight or flight that engages immediately when there is a stress trigger or a survival response. And from what I gather, it has the potential of holding on to that trauma, not fully releasing it. She went on to say that most people are stuck in a trauma response. That really triggered me. And when the tears pushed up, I was a bit confused and I thought, where is the root of this trigger? Where is it coming from? I have to say that I was a bit scared because I've done so much work on the abuse that I've faced. I've done so much work on not being fully connected to my bloodline, to my family. So I can talk about these experiences and I don't connect to the pain or the past. And I have to admit that there was a part of me that was really worried that I still had a lot of work to do in that area. And that was why I was so triggered by what she said. I found truth in it. My body found truth in what she was saying. After I had the Yoni steam, I let go of any need to really find the root. I told myself it would come. I knew it would come in some way. And I went to bed. And when I woke up in the morning, I woke up to a really powerful dream. And I knew exactly what the trigger was from. I discovered the root. And I wanted to share this. One of my best friends, his name is Alvaro Angeles. My son's middle name is Alvaro, named after him. He's also known as -1. He was a graffiti artist whom we were friends since I was 15 years old. He was a very, very close friend of mine, extremely close. I mean, I feel like best friends doesn't even justify the connection and the love that we had for one another. He passed away in front of me pretty much. The story is very eerie. It is not a normal story, I guess, to say. There were a lot of signs that took me to be with him where he died. I'm not going to get into the story so much today. Maybe we will talk about that story another day, but I was there, and what I released during the Yoni steam was the trauma of being there and watching him as his chest was getting pumped and all of us yelling for him to come back and, to not leave us. And I had never released or worked on that. I never released or worked on it. You can imagine how traumatizing it can be for someone to witness someone else die so suddenly. He came to me in my dream last night. And it was so powerful. One, because my dream was so real. And in my dream, I didn't know that he had passed on. We were getting a little competitive, making food together. And he kind of always hated my competitive edge that I had, the way I strived to always do better and be better. That kind of always bothered him, and my expectations for other people to strive always really bothered him. And he actually really taught me to not put my expectations on other people, to keep those expectations to myself. He taught me that at a very young age. And so there was a lot of that in our dream. And I say our dream because I really feel that he came to visit me. There was a point in the dream where I could feel him in two different places. He was in the dream with me. I thought the dream was real, so I didn't necessarily was aware that I was dreaming. And I have to make that clear because I'm also a lucid dreamer, where I have the capabilities of waking up and controlling my dream. I almost always know when I am dreaming, and I begin to lucid dream. But in this dream, I just thought it was really real, and I could sense his tension, and I could sense something in him where he was two places at once. And I asked him, "Are you okay? Is everything okay?" And his response to me was, "Yes, I'm fine." But he looked down, and there was a moment that I really can't put my finger on it. I think I need some time to still process this. In that moment, I hugged him really tight. I remember hugging him really, really tight. And I said, "Te quiero un chingo." And then I woke up. And I realized how much trauma I was carrying from watching him leave, from watching him pass. I don't even want to say leave because I feel like he's still here. I just wanted to stop and share my experience with the trigger that presented itself when she was explaining this muscle. And also just to affirm that if there's anything you need to heal from, I can say confidently that this is a great alternative.
So the psoas muscle is one, and then it's the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is the nerve that innervates all of our viscera. And it also is the one the vagus nerve is responsible for the freeze response, which overrides a fight or flight response when the trauma is too excessive. Basically, we are put in a freeze response where we can no longer move or function, or basically we kind of disassociate.
Yes.
It can protect us, especially if the trauma is too great.
Yes.
But what ends up happening also is, another theory of mine, is that parts of the viscera can stay stuck in a freeze response. Or that could be a default setting. If the neural pathways have become so strong where you've engaged in a freeze response consistently or abundantly during your childhood formative years, then it becomes a default setting where basically we freeze. The stress becomes overwhelming. We don't know what to do. We can't move. We can't function. What can happen too is it can affect organ function. It can affect ovarian function, uterine function, vaginal function. So all kinds of disorders, vaginismus, vulvodynia, imbalances in irregular menstrual cycles, things like that, including all other reproductive dysfunctions. The vagus nerve, the functioning, the vagal tone can affect how the organs are functioning. So the steam also can come in, relax those organs because of the warm, moist heat, increase vagal tone, increase vagal function, and get the organs out of the freeze response and get the central nervous system out of the freeze response and help a person recover from any lingering traumas that may be affecting their health.
This is resonating so much with me. From what I've understood so far, this is highly recommended for someone that has had a baby, but it is also okay if you haven't had a baby.
Completely. So
Okay.
This is the spin that we're doing. So this postpartum medicine, postpartum traditional practices and traditional forms of healing around the world, we can apply them to address menstrual issues.
Okay.
Right? So it's intelligent application. It's, if you're a healing practitioner, you can see which of these postpartum care practices can be applied in these situations. So now, what I have come to understand in my practice is that most reproductive health issues have an underlying foundation of trauma. So we're using these practices to address trauma as well.
At this point, Marcia is reviewing my paperwork and she sees that I have the copper IUD. We'll go on to see what exactly she says about the IUD. But mind you, when I began to do a little bit of research so that I could do this at home, nowhere did I come across any of this information. So I think this part is really important.
Vaginal steaming should not be done when someone has an IUD. Now, a lot of holistic practitioners do still steam people when they have the copper. Definitely cannot steam at all if you have the plastic one at all because of the heat. Now, what happens with the steam is that it could dilate the cervix and it could alter the position of the IUD. Okay? So what we can do, we can make it a short steam with less heat. So we can do a 15-minute steam. Okay?
Yeah.
Definitely not longer than that. And you do have fibroids.
I do.
Okay. How long have you had them?
I don't know, maybe 6 years?
Okay. Are they intramural? How much do you know about your fibroids?
Not very much. Just that they're small, and my doctor was like, oh, it's nothing to worry about.
Okay. And you were able to get pregnant?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, obviously you had your second baby. Okay. Sometimes with fibroids can either be genetic, it could be diet-induced, it could be hormone imbalance. And then what happens too is that congestion of the uterus can create situations where there's stagnation in blood flow and congestion in the uterine lining. One of the primary things that can cause that is low-grade constipation or a chronic constipation, mainly because the bowels rest directly on the uterus. Small intestines are going to be right on top of the uterus. Large intestine is going to be on top of the small intestine. If we're eating 3 meals a day and we're only going to the bathroom once a day, that's still a significant amount of weight on the uterus. The uterus only weighs 2 ounces. So if we think that maybe we're eating a 1/4 pound of food a day, maybe more, that's still that extra weight on top of the uterus. Sometimes constipation or not emptying the bowels regularly according to the meals that you're eating could be enough to create a situation where fibroids could grow.
How often would you recommend for anyone to do a Yoni steam?
It all depends on what you're doing and what you're trying to address. If you have no issues, and ideally in traditional folk medicines around the world, including Ayurvedic, traditional Chinese medicine, Mesoamerican medicine, anthropological studies of women menstruating, women menstruate according to the moon cycle, according to the lunar cycle. So every 28 to 31 days, it should last about 3 to 4 days. It should be bright red blood. So that's what we're looking for. The uterus does double in size, so you would feel some kind of discomfort. It's understandable.
Sure.
You should rest. You should have a period vacation.
Yes.
Definitely work from bed,
Yes.
not just from home. You work from your bed. That's the ideal. If you're at that ideal, you can steam 1 to 3 times that first week after your period.
Okay.
Just to feel refreshed, just to feel good. Vaginal steaming is excellent in increasing sexual libido, enhancing the sexual experience.
We need that.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Need that.
You can
Speaking
steam
for myself.
right before sex. Sexy, it's awesome, it's delicious.
Wow.
So that's for a healthy woman, no issues, wants to enhance her life and her well-being. Great.
Yes.
If you're having issues of PCOS, then you should see a health practitioner who is trained in understanding holistic healing methods for that.
PCOS, that's...
Polycystic ovarian syndrome.
Okay. And is that different from endometriosis?
Oh,
or
yes.
Is that okay.
Completely.
Okay.
There's like 4 different categories of PCOS. Most notably, you're looking at increased in follicles in the ovaries, but you're also looking at insulin resistance and pancreatic function, things like that. There's a lot of different markers you need to be officially classified as a PCOS, as having PCOS.
Okay.
Endometriosis is almost being classified now as an autoimmune disorder. Endometriosis is basically the endometrial lining of the uterus escaping the uterus. It can come out through the fallopian tubes, growing and attaching itself to the abdominal wall, to other abdominal organs. I mean, I think a long time ago I saw an article where endometrial tissue can be found even in the brain. What happens is it creates an excruciatingly inflammatory response, whoever is suffering and dealing with it. Endometriosis is not merely just a reproductive disorder, but it's also an autoimmune and inflammatory disorder. So it really needs to be addressed from multiple angles.
Okay.
Steaming, yes, can be highly beneficial in these cases.
Okay.
Then there's fibroids, then there's polyps, all kinds of vaginismus, vulvodynia, there's cervical dysplasia, there's Bartholin cysts, there's all kinds of things that we can use vaginal steaming along with other holistic medicines to help address it. In that situation, vaginal steaming would be regimented according to the individual and the health practitioner that they're seeing. So they need to find a person that is proficient in holistic female reproductive health and vaginal steaming. Vaginal steaming alone will not address these issues. You need to look at many, many different factors.
Got it. Okay. This is helpful. We have a lot of women that write in with endometriosis on the podcast.
Oh,
so
definitely.
This will help.
The recommendations change when there's certain issues.
What are your thoughts on women doing at-home Yoni steam?
You know, my company's name is Women's True Healing. I started with my first company, True Healing Bodywork. So True Healing is essentially a concept that is yet to be defined, but it is based in self-healing as well. Learning how to self-heal, learning how to take care of yourself. It's also a part of what true healing could mean. I totally think it's important. I do think that if you're dealing with, serious issues that are causing distress in your life in some kind of ways, it's important to talk to somebody. It's definitely important to talk to a health practitioner. But like I said, if you're that example where your periods are normal, everything's healthy, and you just want to steam after your period, oh my gosh, I highly recommend having your own vaginal steaming setup at home. I sell vaginal steam setups. They're built to last a lifetime.
I was going to ask, where can I buy one?
Oh, okay. Well, we sell them here.
Okay,
they come with cushions. They're meant to last. They fold. It took me 1.5 years to design them. All my clients were like, we want something that can fold and is compact, because there's a lot of setups out there which is just really a big box.
Right.
And it's beautiful and they're comfortable and they're sturdy, but a lot of women, they don't want necessarily something so obtrusive, or they have small spaces.
Right.
Yeah. So it took me a while to actually design the folding one, and it's just as sturdy, just as comfortable.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, and I have one at home, and vaginal steaming is, you should have something at home.
Yes.
Especially if you want to steam right before lovemaking.
Well, I'm excited to get started.
Okay. The steaming blend that we're using is called the Yoni Essential Steaming Blend, and it's basil, roses, peppermint, mugwort, sage. I think that's all of them. We can check the ingredients, but those are the ones we'll use. They're gentle, they're aromatic. Yeah, and there's other blends we use for other situations, but I think you're good with this.
Marcia took me into one of her rooms and she instructed to remove my pants and my underwear, and she said I had the option of keeping on my shirt and my bra because I was only going to do the steam for 15 minutes due to the copper IUD. We had planned on going for an entire hour, but as you heard in the conversation, I'm not able to go for the entire hour. I did decide to take all of my clothes off. I did want to feel grounded. I wanted to feel raw. I wanted to feel vulnerable. I wanted to feel it completely and submerge myself into this experience. She came in, helped me sit down with a towel around me, and then a heavy blanket that sort of helped keep the steam on the seat. The seat was really comfortable. And then she guided me through this beautiful meditation, which was so powerful. I experienced so much emotion, and I had a very visual meditation when she was providing the service. So overall, it was just such a powerful experience. I highly recommend this. One thing I did want to say is I'm definitely going to start steaming at home. I'm going to purchase one of the benches that she designed so that I could do this at home. But I did want to advise, I guess from my personal opinion, that if you are wanting to use this to heal even trauma, let's say that there isn't something that you're necessarily going in for, like endometriosis or fibroids or an imbalance in your hormones or something like that, I definitely think that you should see someone that facilitates it for your first experience, just because there is so much power when you see a healer. And a lot of the times we underestimate that and we fail to invest in that. It's like the power of prayer. If you have more than one person praying for the same thing, the energy that pours into it is far greater than the energy of just one person. That's why sitting in circle with women, red tents, going to a healer, getting energy clearings, all of these things are so important, because it's not just you intending on your healings, it's actually a collective group working towards your healing. So I definitely highly recommend finding someone that you are comfortable with and you feel a sense of attraction to. By that, I just mean that there's a connection and that you are in a comfortable and safe place. If you are in the Los Angeles area, I definitely highly recommend for you to see Marcia at Women's True Healing. We're going to link her information in the description of this podcast, and then just let her know that you are a listener of Let There Be Luz. Let her know that we sent you over there. There was also something extremely powerful that took place that I wanted to share with you. Remember, I mentioned that on my way to go see her, I was already praying for her guides to connect with my guides and to make a pact if there was anything that we needed to do together. I'm so excited to announce that Marcia is actually going to join the team of healers at the Red Tent, and she's going to be leading the Sacred Feminine Connection, which is absolutely perfect because she is a shaman that it has so much knowledge when it comes to connecting to our own sacred feminine connection, and this is something that we all need. So she's going to guide us through that part of the Red Tent. I'm so excited to welcome her as one of the healers. I just also have to say that I am in full gratitude of everyone's support. Every day, I'm just completely amazed at what the Red Tent is transforming into. It is completely beyond me. And I want to just say a special thank you to Carissa. I just want to give her a huge shout out. She has been such a great support system during this entire process. She's been kicking butt, you guys. She's been working so hard, coming up with so many great ideas. She's really given me the ability to sort of relax. Like every time I talk to her, the tension in my shoulder releases, and I know that I am supported and I'm not doing this by myself. So I just want to give Carissa a huge shout out. I'm so in gratitude of her support during this event. I'm so excited to be working with her and to have her on the team. I also want to give a special thank you to Casa Papalot, Just Give, Sarah Miracle, Colonia 77, Healing with Self-Love, What's Blooming, Crystal Dom, Majestic Soaps, Ana Lilia, Marcela Arieta, Roxy Diaz, Marcia Lopez, Pam Covarrubias, Darlene Garcia. I know this one was a long one. Thank you so much for hanging in there. I know you all found some valuable information. Don't forget to check out Women's True Healing, and don't forget to check out our digital tent on lettherebeluz.com. Go to events or go to Karmic Investments into events as well to make your karmic investment. I love you guys. Follow us on Instagram at lettherebeluz. Don't forget to head over to iTunes, and please, 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 if you feel it in your heart, if you feel that any of this information has been helpful to you, the only thing I ask in exchange is that you go over to iTunes, rate us, and also write a review. This really helps for us to get exposure, to get more listeners, or even just share an episode. I love you guys. May the light within get stronger.
I want you to think about your reason for coming, your personal intention for being here, and I want you to feel settled in that intention. Sit into that intention. And as you're sitting into that intention, I want you to feel yourself sitting on the stool, your feet resting on the bolster. And I want you to really be aware of that experience, this experience. So you're sitting here, you're grounded, you're supported right now. We are supported by the earth, by the gravity. We're supported by the ground. And we're sitting here together. And I want you to breathe in to your sit bones. Breathe into the warmth, breathe into the steam. And as you feel the steam, we're acknowledging the water, we're acknowledging the plants, the rose petals, the